Hey, this is Workbench Quagmire, back with day 99 of our free code camp Python certification in 100 days. Like I've said in the previous videos, I have completed it. I have passed the exam. So now I'm going back and going over a couple of topics that I've kind of noticed, stuck out to me. There's a lot, like I said in the previous videos, a lot of like, what's the difference between a string, a list, an integer, what happens when you try to put an integer, add an integer to a string, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of the basic section stuff, a lot of like, can you tell the difference between these two things? Do you know what this thing is? Do you know what a binary tree is? What defines a binary tree? Do you know what a queue is? That sort of thing. So, but then they got some like, hey, here's some code. What do you think happens? Is another type of problem they have. And so I was kind of going to go over some of the things that stuck out to me. And this is the second day of doing that. And so what we have here, jump right in, is range. One of the things that I think still trips me up occasionally, as I just won't think about it, is what is this? First of all, range is an object. It creates an iterable. So this isn't going to print anything by itself or anything like that, but it basically creates a sequence. And so this little for loop basically goes through here. It says I at range and it prints I. So it's going to print what? Well, we're 0 index. It's going to print 5 items. So it's actually going to print 0 through 4. So like that 5 is what they call is exclusive. So it's not inclusive of the 5. You see here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We printed 5 items, but 5 is not one of those items. So that's a fairly simple concept, although I think it's where you can make an error and be like, oh, it's 5, range 1 through 5. It would seem like that maybe should be the case when it's not. The next thing I want to look at is what happens when you have this thing here. So we have a list. This list has 4 tuples in it, and each tuple is the length of 2. So what is going to print here? Is it going to be 1, the string, 1, the integer, memory address for the tuple? Like, what's going to happen here? So let's run this and see what happens. So it runs the tuples. So it doesn't return the index, which, hey, this is I, it should return index. No, it goes through here, this list, and it returns the objects that are in that list. So if we added an object to the beginning of this list, we'll just call it Nope, we didn't save it. So you see here, now we have the string and these 4 tuples. What you might have expected is what you might get with enumerate. So enumerate's something we learned about. So if we use the enumerate function, now we get that index. So we get the index and the object. If we wanted to separate those, this is essentially, you're returning a tuple. And one of the things we learned that, I think we might have reviewed, was how to unpack like a tuple, unpack, a list or whatever. And so here we have tuples. So if we want to unpack this, we could actually say I, and we'll just say content, and and then when we go over here, now we just get the index. So we get that 0 through 4. You could also print content, and it would print the content. And notice it's not in a tuple now because we've unpacked it. Now we do return tuples, but if we try to go in here and break these tuples out farther, you're going to have to check whether or not the length is greater than 1. So, because this first one's not a tuple. So that's just kind of a concept there is, you know, what happens, you know, if you want the index, what gets returned when you're using enumerate, and how do you unpack that? So let's go up here and comment this out. And we'll go down here for our last, which is a nested loop. And so, does this loop stop when we get to 4, or the 5th item in this range? Because we have this range 10, we have this range 5. So what happens? What do we print down here? So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we go through this 10 times. 0, see here, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 0, 4, 1, 2, 4, all the way up to 9, 4 here. So this inner loop continues iterating as long as the outer loop is going. There's no conditional here to check for anything, so we're not stopping, you know, when J gets to 5 or anything like that. So what happens if you reverse that? Okay, so you get 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6, 0, 7. So now we go in here and we go through the entire thing still. But this time, basically, the determinant of this first position here is how many times we need to loop through the second. So just wanted to kind of go over that. There's some nested loop questions, some, you know, what happens when you print something from a nested loop type questions in there. Again, I think they probably randomize it to a certain extent. So, but just trying to give you an idea of the types of things you need to review. Again, review the reviews. The end review is very lengthy. I did not go through all of it. I didn't really review anything. I just thought, well, I'm going to take the exam and see what happens. But if I was really wanting to make sure I wanted to pass it the first time, I would go back in, look at those shorter, like review quizzes. Just make sure you can answer the questions in the review quizzes, and that'll probably be all you need. So, all right, I'll be back with one more video, our day 100, and I'm going to go over binary trees, some of the more algorithmic stuff that I struggle with, and I'm actually just going to kind of go through the reviews of those and show the type of questions that I saw. So thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.